Alright, so we're on the video for formatted presentation, and we are going to start by downloading the files we need from Fanch Online. So you're going to have Fanch Online open. You will click on Content. Then you'll find the content for PowerPoint formatted presentation. Then you'll click to open that content. So now what we want to do is we want to download the starting files. So there are 4 files here that we're going to download. So we're going to start by just simply click on it says click here. When you're downloading a picture from Fanch Online, it actually displays the picture. So to get the picture into your system, you're going to right click on the picture and save image as. And we want it to go in our downloads folder, so we'll click OK. Then we can close that picture. Do the same for the other 3. So click, right click, save image, download, close that one, click, right click, save image as, save, close, right click, save image as, save, and close. Okay, so that is your first step. So at this point what we have done is just downloaded 4 pictures into from Fanch Online into your computer. Okay, so we're going to get started. So this first skill is called Create New Presentations. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up PowerPoint. When I'm in PowerPoint, it's going to give me the option to create a new blank presentation, or I can apply what is called a theme. Themes are combinations of fonts, colors, and special effects, and in PowerPoint it also includes background graphics, so how your different placeholders are positioned on the slide. So all of these are pre-built templates. There are also lots of different templates available. I'll just show you briefly here. If I was to look at presentations, these are pre-built presentations that you could use as a starting point in creating your own presentation. In our case, we're going to create a blank presentation, but we do want to apply a theme, and we're going to select the ION theme. So there's ION Boardroom. Just make sure you select the right one. Here's the ION theme. I'm going to select that. We're going to talk about variants later. So for now, I'm just going to click Create. And what that will do is create a brand new presentation. What's this other one back here? That's garbage. Okay, so here is my blank presentation, and we're going to now work through the skills that I'm just adjusting my screen to fit here properly. All right, so we're working through the first skill, create new presentation. So we've created our presentation with the theme. Now you can see on here, this is called a title slide. If I click here on this new slide button, you can see that there are a number of different types of slides that are available within the ION theme. Every theme will have different types of slides to it. The first slide is called a title slide, which has 2 placeholders, one for the title and one for a subtitle. Then there's what's called title and content, section headers, and so on and so forth. In our case, we're going to create a new slide. So if you select the bottom of the picture, you are given the options of selecting one of the pre-built layouts. If you select the top button, now if it's the first slide in a presentation, it will automatically create a title and content slide. But otherwise, it will just simply create another slide of the same type that you're on, but you can always change the layout later. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to follow through. So I'm working through the textbook. Skill number 1, step number 4. We're going to click here, type employee orientation. And then we're going to click in the subtitle, and we're going to type Aspen Falls City Government. Now notice that even though I was typing in upper and lower case, it all shows up in uppercase. That's simply because in the ION theme, subtitles on the title slide are all capitalized. You should always type your text with proper caps and uppercase and lowercase characters, because if you change the theme, it may not be all uppercase the next time. Okay, so moving on. Now I'm going to add a new slide. So I'm going to click on the arrow below the button here, and it wants me to add a to content slide. Just to show you, I mean, it's not very difficult if you select the wrong type to simply go up and change it to be the correct. Whoops, that was to add a new slide. We don't want to do that. It's very easy to simply go here to layout and change it to what it should have been the first time. Okay, so it's not if you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. Okay, so let's just take a look at this slide. You can see that on the slide I actually have what are called placeholders. So there are 3 placeholders here. There's a title placeholder and 2 content placeholders. Different slides will have different types of placeholders. A placeholder is, even though you can see the dotted lines and the text that says click to add title, that doesn't mean that that's not going to display. When you run the presentation, if you didn't type anything in there, nothing would show on the screen at all. The only reason the placeholders are there is to ensure that as you're typing in information that it all looks consistent. If you're using PowerPoint, you want to have a professional looking presentation, something that you'll feel proud about putting in front of an audience. You don't want to have your titles bouncing all over the screen or what have you. So that's why you have templates to make sure that all your titles are in the same place, they all have the same format, the same font, same size, and so on, because that's going to make your presentation look professional. So we're going to click here in the top and we're going to type welcome new employees. And then we're going to click. Now on a content placeholder, you can see that you can actually have, in this case I can have 9 different things. Depending on the version of PowerPoint that you're using, these last 2 here, the 3D models and the insert an icon, those are brand new, only in Office 365. So if you have an older version, you will only have these 6, and that's fine. I mean, we're not going to be using these 2 anyway. So if I was to click this, it would insert a table. If I was to click this, it would a chart, smart art graphic, insert a picture, insert an online picture, which means it'll go out to the internet to allow you to select a picture from the internet, or insert a multimedia clip. Or the 7th option or the 9th option would be to simply click here and add bullet points, which is what we're going to do. So I'm going to click, I'm going to type itinerary, first day of work. Now, this is instruction. So what you type in here is really not going to matter, because you're not going to save this file or you're not going to submit it anywhere. However, when you start to work on your grader assignment, you want to make sure that whatever you type is exactly what the grader assignment is asking for. Don't add any characters, don't add any punctuation. Make sure that you have upper and lowercase exactly as it's asked for. Don't put a space at the end of the line, etc. Because if you do, MyITLab will mark it incorrect. Because it's a computer that's marking it, it's asking for something specific. You have to have exactly what it is asking for. There's nothing more frustrating than to lose 5, 6, or 7 marks simply because you made something uppercase when it should have been lowercase, or you spelled something wrong. So double check your spelling and so on. All right, I'm going to hit enter. So we're adding bullet points here right now. Bullet points are broken down into levels. So there's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, etc. types of bullets. So level 1 bullet is at the left margin, the level 2 bullet is indented, a level 3 bullet is indented twice, and so on and so forth. And when you're adding bullet points, if you type a text and hit enter, you will get a new bullet at the same level. If I hit the tab button, I actually indent to make this a level 2 bullet. I could also go up here on the tab, and there's this decrease list level and increase list level, which would automatically increase. So increasing is taking from a level 1 to a level 2, and decreasing is taking from a level 2 to a level 1. All right, so I'm going to type in here City Hall Tour, enter, so I have another level 2 bullet, Department Introduction, Welcome Lunch, and finally, new employee orientation meeting. Okay, all right, so now over in this placeholder on the right, we're going to add a picture. So I'm going to add a picture by clicking the Insert Picture dialog box, or the Insert Picture icon. When you are inside a placeholder and you add something, whatever you add is automatically going to fill up that particular placeholder. You do have an option up here on the Insert menu to insert a picture. But if I do that, it's going to put the picture on top of the whole slide. In our case, I don't want to use this. I actually want to go and insert my picture from here so that the picture will automatically fill up that box and no more. So I'm going to insert the picture. It's going to ask me where do I want to go. I'm going to go to my downloads because that's where I downloaded the pictures to, and I'm going to select picture number photo 1. And I'm going to click insert, and there's my picture. Okay. So we're moving on to step number 10 within skill number 1. On the Home tab in the Slides group, click the new slide arrow. Okay, so go back to the Home tab, new slide, and I want to insert a picture with caption. So I'm going to click here. All right, so you can see I have different placeholders here. In my content box, I only have one option. All right, so in my heading, I'm going to type Aspen Falls City Hall. And in my sub placeholder, I'm going to type, "We are glad to have you on our team." And in the picture, I'm going to bring in photo 2. Okay. And that is skill number 1. Okay, so moving on to skill number 2, which is called Change Themes and Variants. So you're going to click on slide number 1. So this particular presentation, you created it using the Ion theme. Now just to be so you're familiar with what a theme is. A theme is combinations of fonts, colors, and special effects. And what I mean by that, if I click on the Home tab, and I have to select some text. If I click on font color, you can see that on the font color I have theme colors and standard colors. It's important that you understand how that works. So every theme, so this particular theme, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So this theme, which is the Ion theme, has 10 different theme colors. Actually, the first 2, black and white, are standard on all themes. So there are 8 different colors within this theme. Each of these colors is dependent on position. So as an example here, you can see in the 3rd position, that's called dark teal background 2. This one way at the end here is called purple accent 6. Those are my theme colors. All of these colors below that are variations on a theme. So the very first one is darker 10%. Well, these are different. Let's just go here. Yeah, lighter 80%. Lighter 60%, lighter 40%, darker 25%, and darker 50%. So all of the colors below the theme colors are simply different saturations of that color. The standard colors, on the other hand, are standard. So the thing here is that if you pick a theme color and you change the theme, which we're going to do in a minute, you're going to see that the colors will change to match. So I'm just going to pick a theme here just so that you can see how it works. So I've changed the color on this to that particular theme color. If I click on fonts, you can see that I have 2 theme fonts, my heading font and my body font, and then a bunch of others. Same thing here. If I change my theme, these will change, and all my headings and my body in my document will change to match the new theme. The whole idea here is that themes are professionally built with colors that are complementary to each other. So if you change a theme, all your colors, your whole presentation will change to match. Okay, so what we want to do here is we're going to change the themes. So we're going to go to the Design tab. We're going to click and look. These are all your different theme options. So you can see here you've got all of these themes, plus there are thousands more. And you'll find that some companies will actually have a company theme that they've built that is very specific to their particular company, because companies spend millions of dollars to make sure that what goes out to the marketplace, what goes out to their customers, always looks the same. I used to work for Labatt's. At Labatt, all of our text had to be a certain particular font, all our colors had to be a certain particular color, our trademark logos and that were all specific. They don't want anybody to mess with that because it confuses the consumer. So the same thing here. My wife used to work for the Heart and Stroke Foundation. They would have a particular color of red that they would have in a background. They would have a particular picture of a heart that would show on that theme, and so on and so forth. So you may be using a company theme. In our case, if you create a presentation from scratch, it's going to have the employee or the office theme. But just notice that if I look at that text, you can just barely see that E. We changed it to a red color, but if I change it to the office theme, it changes to a blue color. So what we are going to do is we're going to go down and we're going to look for the retrospect theme, which I believe is one of these. There it is there. So retrospect is here, and you can see that now if I was to go in and select that text and go to the Home tab, you can see that, remember, this color used to be purple, now it's green. This color was dark blue or dark teal, now it's light blue, okay, or ice blue. So as you change the theme, all your colors will change. If I look at my headings, now they're Calibri Light and Calibri. I can't remember what they were on the other theme. Okay, so what we want to do is, so we're moving on to skill number 4. We're going to change the variant. So if you go back to designs, so a particular theme, especially in PowerPoint, is going to determine colors, fonts, special effects, but it also determines how your placeholders are set up. So different themes, if I move my cursor around these different themes, you can see how the titles move around on the screen to different locations and so on. If I like a particular layout, but I don't necessarily like the colors, I can pick the thing. So we pick the retrospect theme, but I can go over here and pick a variant color, which is going to leave the same placeholders, but it's going to change my color schemes, background colors, and so on. Okay, so what they want us to do is on the Design tab in the Variant group, click the More button, which we've done, and click the first variant in the second row, which is here. Right, so there's the basic retrospect, which is browns. We're going to just change it all to blues. And then on slide number 3, we're going to select "We are glad you are to have you on our team." So we're going to select this text. When you select something, it's going to bring up a mini toolbar. Everything you see in this toolbar is available to you, plus more, in the Home tab. But sometimes it's just simpler to just select text. We're going to change the font size to 28, and we're going to apply italics. Right, and then we're going to go to the Home tab, and we're going to add a new picture with caption layout. Now remember, when we had Ion theme, we had like 10 or 12 different slides. Now we have 9. So there's picture with caption. Title plus, we're going to type questions or concerns. Please ask at any time. Okay, and we're going to change the font size for this text to 28 and italics. And then we're going to add our picture here, and we're going to add picture 3. Okay, and one of the options you also have, let's forget about the old text here, on slide 4 in Design and Variant, click More. So we're going to go back to Design, Variants, and third in the second row. So if I was to simply click the variant, it would change the variant on all of my slides. If I only want to change the variant on one particular slide, I can right-click on the slide and apply it only to the selected slides. So now that particular variant is applied to slide number 4, but the rest of the slides maintain the original variants. All right. Okay, and that is it for skill number 2, change themes and variants. Okay, moving on to skill 3, change font colors and effects. This one's pretty straightforward. Move to slide 1. And we want to select the text in the title placeholder, so this employee orientation. I'm going to change the text color just to get rid of that because we added that extra blue, but it doesn't matter. So what we want to do is I want to select that text. Now, one of the ways you can select text, of course, is what you've always done, just click and hide and click and drag. But there's also an option within PowerPoint that if you click the border, so you can see right now, if you look really close, you can see that that placeholder border is a dotted line. If I click it a second time, it'll change to a solid line. And now, anything that I do affects, it's the same as selecting everything inside the placeholder. So rather than having to select it all first, I can simply click the border. I'm going to go to the Home tab. I'm going to go to the Types, Font Type. And now I'm going to select something. So remember, these are your 2 theme fonts. So Calibri Light for headings and Calibri for body. Usually you want to stick with your theme fonts, because if I change my theme, all my fonts will match whatever the theme fonts are. However, if I decide that I select a different font somewhere from the list down below, that will become the new, so that one will not change. If I change it to a non-theme font, later on, if I change the theme, whatever it was set to the non-theme will stay whatever I set it up to. So they want this to be Trebuchet right there. All right. Now, one of the things too, though, is that when you click back on that list, you're going to see now a brand new box showed up called Recently Used Fonts. So I don't have to go searching for it if I want to use it again. Okay. So with that text still selected, I'm going to go to Text Shadow. So these are all my font options. So bold, of course, italics, underlines. This is Text Shadow, so I'm going to select that. You can see it puts a shadow on my text. This is character space, or this is changing your case for upper, lower, and so on. Character spacing, increase or decrease your fonts by 1. Erase your fonts. This is your highlight color, so that would be if I wanted to run a highlight over something, and these are my font colors. Okay, so I'm going to click here, and subtitle text, so I'm going to click the placeholder so I don't have to select all the text, and select Text Shadow. On slide number 2, I'm going to select the title placeholder, and I'm going to change the heading font to Trebuchet, whatever. So there, we're going to select the same font as we used on the prior one. And I'm going to change the font color to turquoise accent 1, darker 25%. So this is turquoise accent 1, lighter 80, lighter 60, lighter 25, darker 25, or lighter 40, darker 25, darker 50. They want darker 25, this one here. Okay, so that one's pretty straightforward. That was a pretty quick one. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to play with the backgrounds a little bit. So this is skill number 4, format slide backgrounds with fill. So you're going to go to slide number 1, and if you click on the Design tab, so the Design tab is how the slide, the backgrounds, and everything are going to look. If you look at the far right hand side here, there's one called Format Background. When I click on that, it brings up this Format Background pane. Just so you're aware, panes are basically just submenus that Windows uses. The different thing about a pane is that once you've opened a pane, it will stay open regardless until you close it again. So if I was to open this one and then say a different pane for animations or what have you, they would all stay on the screen. So usually what I recommend is that once you're done with a pane, you close it. It's very easy to bring it back up again. Okay, so format background, yep. And then these are all your different options. So right now you have a solid fill in the background, which is basically a white. A gradient fill is going to fill the color with with a gradient. So gradient simply means that your colors are going to kind of blend from one color to another. They're kind of interesting. These are all your different colors that are within that gradient. These are the preset patterns, so you can see that there are different ways that it would look. So if I click here, you can see if I click here, and so on. The type is how it's the whole concept here is it's as if you were shining a light onto your slide. So if you shine the light from the top left hand side, then you're going to get it lighter in the top left and darker as it progresses to the bottom right, and so on. So that's what this is all about. So you can see there's radial, rectangular, path, and start from the title. Alright, so we're going to go back to linear, which is the most common. What they want us to use here is top spotlight accent 6, which is gradient. So here, so preset gradients, and we want where it is here. Last one in the second row. All right, top spotlight accent 6. All right, so you can see here it looks like there's a spotlight in the middle here as it goes down. Then we're going to close the format background pane because we no longer need it. We're going to go to slide number 4. And we're going to add a new slide. So we're going to go to home, and we're going to add a section header slide. Okay. And we're going to delete this placeholder. I'm not sure why they're bothering. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything to have a placeholder there, but I'm just going to delete it because the instructions tell you to, and just to show you that you can do that. Okay. And in here, we're going to type Aspen Falls City Hall, a great place to work. Okay. And then we're going to go back to design, format the background. Here we're going to pick a texture fill. So the textures are here. And we'll select the one that's called, which one do they want here? Oh. No, all they want us to do, forget that. All they want us to do is hide the background graphics, which makes those go away. Okay. And probably not supposed to have that texture fill there, so I can get rid of that, go back to solid fill. Okay. Okay, so we're moving on to skill number 5, add pictures and textures to a slide background. So what we want to do here is we want to change the background of the slide. So we've seen backgrounds from your theme, so these are your theme. So we've got the Ion theme. You've seen the different backgrounds that it's put. We just want to actually personalize this particular slide with a background picture. So what you're going to do is on the format background slide pane over here on the right, you're going to go to picture or texture fill. This will allow you to apply either a picture or a texture. So we want to go to picture source, click on image from a file, and we want photo 4. Okay, so now using a picture for a background is different than inserting a picture on a slide. When you insert a picture on a slide, the picture sits on top of your slide. And you can do a lot of things to that picture. You can add effects, you can put backgrounds around it, or borders around it, that sort of thing. However, when you use a picture as a background, the picture automatically fills up the whole background of the slide. You have some abilities to change certain things, but you don't have the same amount of flexibility as you do with a picture. All right, so what we want to do here is you can see that the picture is very vivid, so we're going to change the transparency here to 80%. which means the picture just kind of blends into the background, and then you can see your text. Okay, all right. All right, now with slide 5, we're going to add a new title and content slide. So again, we're going to go to Home. We're going to leave the background pane open because we're going to use it in a second. And we're going to add a new title and content slide. Okay. In the title, we're going to type in the word checklist. And then it says press escape 2 times so that so right now you can see that the title placeholder is selected. If I hit exit once, it'll just takes the handles off. I hit it again and it's not selected. I could have done the same thing simply by clicking somewhere else on the slide. Alright, and then we're going to change the background on this slide, and this one we're going to use a texture fill. So you're going to go to Find, Texture, and then your textures are here, and we're going to select the texture called Newsprint. So as you hover over each of the textures, you can see, so there's Newsprint, Parchment, and so on. So we'll apply the Newsprint texture. It's very difficult to see in this particular color, but we're just basically going along with what the text is saying. And then in your content, you're going to tie Employee Confidentiality Agreement. Employee Handbook. Department Guidebook. And Checkout Department Key Fob. Okay, and then you're going to select the content placeholder. So remember, you can either click and drag to select, or you can simply click the border on the placeholder, which is the same as selecting all of the text. And you're going to increase the font size by 1 to 24. So on the Home tab, we're going to click increase the font size, changes it to 24. All right. Okay, moving on to skill number 6, format text with WordArt. So WordArt is basically just text that you've applied certain text effects to. So WordArt is pre-built text effects that you can apply to text. You can also do it individually, and I'll show you in a second. So what they want us to go is go to slide number 5. So we're going to click here on slide number 5. We're going to select the text, or I'm going to just select the placeholder so that all the text is selected. Now, and I'm going to, leave that. So there are basically 2 iterations or two different flavors to WordArt. You can take existing text and apply WordArt to that, or you can insert brand new text as WordArt. So we're going to do both of those in here. So in this case, we're taking existing text and we're going to format it with WordArt. So on the Format tab, which is here, and we're going to go to WordArt Styles. So these are WordArt Styles here, and we're going to click, and now there is an issue with the textbook versus Office 365. It says here in the WordArt, select the second style in the second row, which is this one. In the textbook it says gradient fill dark green accent 1, but in actual on Office 365 it's gradient fill brown accent color 3. I have no idea why Microsoft changed that, but that's the way it is, so that's fine. So we're going to select that, and then we're going to change the type, the text fill, to black so it stands out a bit better, and we're going to change the size to 44. And we're going to bold it. Okay, now let me just go back through here. I'm going to go back to the Format tab. So these are your WordArt styles. Also, you notice here you have these other three options here. A word art style is just a pre-built set of formats. All of those formats you can do individually here. So text fill, changes the internal color of the text. Text outline changes the outline around the outside of the text. So as you can see, if I change it to red, you can see that you get a red on the background and so on. And text effects are where you get all of these effects. So this particular word art style has the reflection text effect, which is here. And you can see as I hover over top, you can see all the different variations on here. Shadow puts a shadow around your text. Bevel changes the actual outside edges of the text. 3D rotation would change the way the text appears, and 3D transformation is where you can get effects such as this. Alright, so a word art style is just pre-built effects, but you can do them all individually here. And just while we're here, I want to also talk about a concept in Microsoft called a container. Anytime you're putting anything onto the screen, it's going to fit inside a container. So text, in this text, the placeholder is your container and the text goes inside that placeholder. These options over here, shape styles, change the outside around, changes the container, not the text inside the container. So here you can see I have shape fill, so I could change the color inside the container. Here, outline, I could change the outside box around the outside, so I can change how thick the box is, the type of lines around the outside, whether I want a dashed line or so on. And shape effects are basically the same as the effects you had on the text, except it applies to the border around the outside. Okay, all right, so moving on to step number 6, we're going to move to the number 6 slide, and we're going to add, so we're going to go to new, and we're going to add a new blank slide. So a blank slide is a slide that has no placeholders. And on here, we're going to add new word art. So we're going to go to the Insert tab, and over here on the right, you can see word art. So this is very similar. What we used in the last step was taking existing text and applying word art to that text. In this situation, what we're going to do is we're going to add brand new text and set the word art right out from the gate. And in the word art gallery, click the 4th option in the 3rd row. And then what will happen, you'll see on the screen this option that says your text here. And what we'll do is just start typing inside, and it will replace the words your text here with whatever you type. Okay, and we're going to select the text, and we're going to change the font size to 96. Notice you don't have to usually use the drop down. You can just click in the box and type whatever you want it to be. Okay, and then we're going to go to the text effects button. So we're going to go back to the shape fill, text effects, and we're going to apply 3D rotation. Then there's parallel or perspective, so we want parallel, and the second option in the 2nd row, which is off axis 1 right. All right, and that's that skill. Okay, moving on to skill number 7, change character spacing. This one's pretty straightforward. So we're going to go to slide number 1. Okay, and on the Home tab, click the character spacing button. So we're going to select the title placeholder, or I could have selected the text, doesn't matter. And we're going to click on character spacing on the Home tab. And character spacing is right here. So when we click on that, and this is just the space between characters. Of course, that's exactly what it means, right? So we want very tight, so you can see as I click on that, the text compresses together. We're going to select the subtitle text. And again, click the character spacing button. And we're going to go down now to the bottom where you actually have the ability to, so these are all pre-built character spacings down at the bottom, we have the ability to do it ourselves. Alright, so we want it to be expanded, so there's expanded or condensed or normal, and we want to increase the space, so we're going to bring this up to 6. So there's what the text looks like right now. When I click on this, you can see that it expands that spacing to make it stand out a bit better. Alright, so we're going to bring this up. So there's my mini toolbar, so we're going to click to center that text. And we're going to change the font color to black text 1. Okay, then we're going to go to slide number 6. And select text, and we're going to change the font color. And again, now just so we talk a little bit about the buttons and the groupings here. So this is my ribbon, of course, and then within the ribbon it's broken down into tabs, and within the tabs it's broken down into groups. So here are the font tabs, and the font tabs apply to whatever you have selected. So if I simply click here and apply a font, it's not going to do anything because I haven't got any text selected. Anything new I type at that spot will have that font. But so if I select all of my text, then I can change it. Now the other thing is that when you have a button on the group, a lot of your buttons will have an arrow beside the button itself. So if you simply click the button, it'll do the default. And if you click the arrow, it gives you the ability to pick one of the other options. And when you pick one of those other options, that then becomes the default. So on that prior step, when we changed the text color here to black, it automatically then changed the color on the font color to black. So I don't have to click the arrow and select, I can just click the box. Okay. Okay, so we're moving on now to skill number 8, modify bulleted and numbered lists. Bullet and numbered lists are very important in PowerPoint. It's primarily the way that you get your information across to your audience is using either a bulleted or a numbered list. Use a numbered list if whatever you're trying to talk about runs in the particular sequence, and otherwise you would use a bulleted list. So what we're going to do is we're going to play with both. Keep in mind as well that bulleted and numbered lists are available in Word as well. You have more flexibility in PowerPoint than you do in Word to be able to change certain aspects of your bulleted and numbered lists. So go to slide number 2 and select the placeholder. And actually we're going to just select the text here because we don't want to affect that first line. And these are your bulleted and numbered lists up here in the paragraph group. So those are bulleted lists, numbered lists. All right. And I think these are combination lists. Line spacing. Oh, never mind. Okay, so we want to change this from a bulleted list, which is what it is here now, to a numbered list. And again, I can click here and it'll pick the default numbered list, or I can select the numbered list that I want, in which case it would have been the first option would have been fine. You see I have other options within here as well, and we'll come back about this in a bit. Okay, so we're going to select the first option here. Right. And now we're going to go back, and now we're going to actually do some modifications. So this is the size of the number. So right now it's 100%. I can make it bigger if I want the number to really stand out, or I can shrink it down to a smaller number so that it becomes less. I can start my numbering here at 1. So where you would use this is that if you have, let's say you have a numbered list on one slide and it continues on the next slide, there's a chance that what PowerPoint will do is number the slide on the next slide starting again at number 1. But if I had like 5 bullets on the first slide and I want the next one to start at 6, then I could change it, the starting number here. And this is the actual color of the bullet, which allows us to change the color. So we're going to click on that. And we'll just make the bullet a little bit darker. So we'll go down here and select turquoise accent 1 darker 50%. Okay. And click OK. Then we want to select everything in the numbered list, and we want to change the font size to 24. Okay. Okay, moving on to step number 5. So we're going to go to slide 6 and select the content placeholder. And here we're going to do some changes to the bulleted list. So I can change my bulleted list. So this is hollow square bullets. These are, arrow bullets and so on. You do have the option here to change other points of your bullets. So I could pick different bullet sets here. I can also change the bullet to a picture. So I could take a particular picture and make that my bullet. So again, I could, well, I'm not going to bother with it here, but you could do that. And then customize allows you to pick any character set anywhere in the text. So again, if I go down here to, let's go to decided to take a little holiday here. Okay, so I could go down here to say something like wingdings, and I could pick one of these as my bullet. So if I wanted to have little pictures of something skiing or what have you. Okay, so those are under customize. And again, I can change the size and I can change the color. Okay, so we'll select hollow bullets. Right. And then I'm going to go again and go back, bullets and numbering. I can change the size. Well, let's see, they want us to change it to checkmark bullets and change the size to 90%. Okay, that's the end of that skill. Okay, so up to skill number 9, move and copy text and objects. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use cut and paste and copy and paste. So just to run you through the background, when you do a cut, it takes whatever you have cut and it moves it to the clipboard. It removes it from your original location. Then you can paste that, whatever it was that you cut, somewhere else in your document, or you could even cut and paste from a PowerPoint into a Word document or what have you, back and forth. Copy is the same thing as a cut. Copy takes the information, leaves it in your original location, puts it on the clipboard, and then you can paste it again wherever you want to paste it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to slide number 6, which is where we are, and we're going to select this row called Checkout Department Key Fob. I'm going to cut it. So on the Home tab, here is cut, there is copy, and there is paste. I could also right-click and click on cut or copy, or I can use my keyboard shortcuts. So Control X does a cut, Control C does a copy, and Control V does a paste. All right. So I'll follow the textbook on this one, but I'll show you the other options. So I'm going to cut that information. I'm going to move on to slide number 2, and I want to paste that information above welcome back. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to do a paste. So when you do the paste, you've got a number of options here. So if I just click the paste button, it'll just do a basic cut or a paste, including the formatting. If I click the paste options button, you can see I can have use the destination theme, keep the source formatting, picture, and here I want just keep text only. So the issue here would be if I had a certain amount of formatting on that original text, I don't want that formatting to carry forward onto this new location, because it would then look out of place with the information that's already there. So I can use that other option. Now let me show you a different way to do that. I'm going to do a Control V for paste. I get the same thing, but here if I want to have those different options, I can click, this is the paste options button, and I have the same option here to just select the text only. All right, and again, if I do a right click and paste, there are my paste options there. All right, so you've got 3 different options to do it. So Control C does a copy, Control X does a paste, or does a cut, Control V does a paste, or I can right click, cut and copy or paste, or I can use the commands on the Home tab. Okay, so move to slide number 1. They want us to select the text Aspen Falls City Government, and we're going to copy it. And we're going to move to slide number 3. Okay, and select the title text and paste. So I'm going to right click, go to paste, keep text only. So here's the difference here. So there's the, with using the destination theme. So remember we had changed the color on that text and we changed the line spacing. All right, there's what it looks like with the source formatting. Picture, it doesn't matter. And here it is, just the text itself, and then it will adopt the formats in the location that we're putting it into. All right, and then they want us to bold that and change the font size to 44. Okay. Okay, skill number 10, use Format Painter and clear all formatting. So copy and paste copies the text and the formats. Sometimes, however, you just want to copy the formats and not the text that it belongs to. So you would use this in a situation where you, let's say you change a heading format, you want all your other heading formats to match. You don't want to have to go back and redo all of those formats in every one of the headings. So what you're going to do is you're going to use the Format Painter, and the Format Painter is here on the Home tab, or if I select text, it'll also show up here on the mini toolbar. So what it allows you to do is to copy the formats. You're going to use Format Painter a lot in PowerPoint. You're going to use it a lot more in Word, and you use it to some extent in Excel as well. So it's important that we understand how this thing works. So let's click on slide number 2. So we want to copy the formats from the title placeholder here. So I just clicked once inside the title placeholder. This is going to, if I do the Format Painter now, it will select all of the formats that belong to this location on the in the title group. And that, in this particular case, because we applied all the formats to everything in there, then all of those formats will be copied. Format Painter is here. So if you click once on Format Painter, then as soon as you apply that Format Painter, it'll turn itself off. If I click twice on the Format Painter icon, then those formats will remain and I can apply them in numerous locations. So I'm going to double click the Format Painter. You can see my cursor changes to the insertion bar with a little paintbrush beside it. So now wherever I go and whatever I highlight is going to adopt the formats that I have selected. On slide 4, please ask at any time. And this is always a challenge that I have when I'm working with the Format Painter, is sometimes you just want to select the text and I've lost it. Okay, so started on slide 2 here. And then we went to slide 4 and I want to apply it here. It didn't work. I turned it on and then I turned it off again. Alright, try this one more time. There. Okay. And then to turn it off, you can either hit the escape button or you can click the button the second time. All right, so again, it is one of the challenges, and sometimes when you're using the Format Painter, you don't have to apply a format from the start. You can start at the back. The trouble with this one is that as I was trying to click in front of the word please ask, I was actually clicking the placeholder, which was selecting the placeholder. So one of the options that you have available to you is to go to the back of the text, where you're not going to have to worry about it, click and drag. So with Format Painter, just remember that when you are trying to apply it, you have to click, hold your mouse button down. Excuse me. You have to click, hold your mouse button down, and then drag to apply those formats to the text or whatever it is that you're trying to format. Okay, and the rest of this is not that important, so I'm not going to worry about. So skill number, so that's there. They said they want to change the. Oh, they want us to. Okay, so we'll continue on here. So with the text still selected, so it is still selected. If you want to remove your formats, there's an option here called Clear All Formats. So if I click on that, then all the formats are removed from that text. So that's the font size, the color, the and so on, and they just revert back to whatever the default was for that particular placeholder in that particular theme. So now I can change the font size back to something, because 15 is too small, 24, and go to slide number 3, and the rest of this I'm not going to worry too much about because it's not going to add any value to us here. Step number 12 has insert headers and footers on the notes and handouts pages. This should be a review from what we did in week 1, but just everybody seems to have problems with headers and footers, so I want to spend a couple of seconds on headers and footers. Headers and footers are on the Insert tab. So if I click on Insert, headers and footers are here. Sometimes you may not actually see the word headers and footers, in which case you might just see the box, like you can see here under symbols. If I click there, there's 2 options below that. In this particular case, I do see the text for headers and footers, but if I just saw the word text, I would simply click the, not text box, if I just saw the word text, then I could click, let me just see if I can make it happen here. There. Okay, so now you can see that there's not enough room on the header for all of the buttons to show, so I just have the word text, and I can click here and bring up the headers and footers. Okay, so headers and footers. Now, when you're in headers and footers, you have 2 options. You can apply headers and footers to the slides, or you can apply headers and footers to the notes and handouts. So headers and footers on the slides are going to show up on the slide presentation. So you can see you have certain options here, and you can see on this little graphic on the right where each of those are. So date and time is going to show up in that box. So in this case, on each slide, the date and time would show up here in this bottom little corner here. The slide number is going to show up down here. And a footer would show up in the middle of the slide here. Normally on slides, I don't use headers and footers. You can use headers and footers to put on page numbers. Just be aware that if you've got a lot of slides, you may not want page numbers showing, because people will kind of see that they're on slide 12 of whatever. Footer, I would use footers on things like if I wanted to have on the text confidential or draft only, not for decimation, or something to that effect. Then I would put the footer on the slide. On notes and handouts, these headers and footers are only going to show up when you actually print the notes pages or the handouts that you're going to hand out. All right, so they're not going to show up on the slides themselves. So what they want us to do here is they want to apply date and time. And again, when you're in date and time, you have an option here that says update automatically, the language, and so on. Or I can apply a fixed date and time. Okay, and then down at the bottom, they're going to apply a footer. And you can see that, so the date and time is showing up here. Sorry, the page number is going to be here. Date and time is here, I think. Let me just see. No, date and time goes down here. Page number goes up here. And the footer, whatever you type in here. The joys of doing these on an old computer, right? and I'm going to click apply to all. So you can see that nothing shows up here on my slides, but if I was to go to print, okay, and if I go to notes and handouts, right, so there's my footer, my page number, and my date. Okay, all right, so that is it.